Oh, I'm Catherine Stargell. I am Vice President of the New Jersey Council of County Colleges. And because my boss sometimes can be a weasel, he threw in another title when I got promoted. I am also Executive Director of the New Jersey Community College Consortium for Workforce and Economic Development. Prior to this role, I had 2 years not working after the Christie administration, which was amazing because I have now a 15-year-old daughter starting high school and a 19-year-old son who just started college in Chicago. Prior to my early part-time retirement, I was Deputy Commissioner of the New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce Development. So my most recent background is in workforce development. However, I was a wayward young adult and got a master's in accounting and a law degree and thought I really wanted to be a tax attorney, and I didn't. I'm much happier now. I'll turn it over.
We just improvised. Go ahead. Professional presence and stuff. I'm out networking, and these ladies just picked up the ball and covered for one another. So thank you. So to introduce
We just started.
So Gina Piscatelli, I run Treasury Management for Ocean First Bank, and these lovely ladies are going to continue to make me look really good today. So thank you. Alethea, go ahead.
Sure. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Alethea once again. I'm Alethea Batts, and I am the Director of Learning and Development and the Chief Diversity Officer for Lakeland Bank. I have spent my entire career in banking, mostly running retail operations for New York, New Jersey, and I'm the mother of two beautiful daughters, one who is about to celebrate 1 year anniversary of marriage. So I'm not a grandma just yet. And in my spare time, I sing in a couple choirs at my church. So do a lot of community work, and am so excited to share with you all today. And the rest you can read in my bio.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Welcome. You are perfect. You're awesome. Just wanted to start out saying that. And what an honor and privilege to share the dais with such wonderfully accomplished women. I'm Kirti. I have 2 full-time jobs. I am a mom to 2 teenaged boys, and I'm also the managing partner of Clifton Lawson Allen. We're a Big 8 accounting firm, $2 billion in revenue, 9,000 people, 135 locations. It's a fun job. And then I'm also a CPA, coolest profession around.
Like that part.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for aligning us with your background. All of these women contribute a great deal to their community and to our great state of New Jersey, so thank you for that. And I do encourage you to read their bios because they are impressive in the work that they continue to do in helping with it and getting involved in this organization. So today's topic is improving your professional presence. First rule, be on time or early.
Oh, no.
Demonstrating what not to do. But I think one of the things that we tried to zero in on a few questions, and I have to tell you, in our prep, we ran long on every answer and response. So you're going to get a wealth of information from the ladies on this panel. But I do want to open it up with our first questions. And what are the qualities that display a strong executive presence, and how can you relate that to the audience here? Alethea, I'll start with you, and then ladies, feel free to chime in as well.
Well, when I think about executive presence, I kind of left it to the C's because if you're taking notes, that'll make it easy. And starting with composure, and that includes your executive presence has to have composure and how you present yourself and how you show up. And that composure includes your EQ, your emotions, and keeping those emotions intact and how you relate to others. You and I know that people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So can you relate to the people and making those connections, how you communicate? Are you comfortable? Are you looking them in the eye? Are you making those physical and emotional connections? And do you care about the people that you're talking about? And do you have charisma? when you're talking, do you draw people in? Do you have that ability to draw them in and communicating in a way that you're focused on them when you're speaking? And can you have the confidence? If you want that position, are you have you heard that old adage, dress 2 positions higher than the position that you want? It makes a difference when we're sitting and we're doing succession planning, and we're how many times have I heard, well, she's missing just something. What is that just something? Be mindful of that. When you're on a Zoom call, it's so easy when we're all working at home to say, what do you look like from the top up? We want to look professional, but what's your background looking like? You want to be professional at all times, and don't let it slip just because a lot of times we're working from home now. There's all these backgrounds and all these screens, so make sure that your screen that's behind you is still professional. And we've gone as far as to have a back screen that has our bank logo behind it, so you don't have to worry about what your house looks like, because we've made it uniform so people don't have to feel bad about what their atmosphere looks like. So dress the part, both inside and outside, both what you look like on the outside, but what your surroundings look like. And speak with clarity, and confidence, because that's what executives do. Think about and model those behaviors. And credibility. Know what you're talking about. If there's a topic that you have to speak on, make sure that you've researched it to the umpteenth degree, and then be comfortable. If you don't know the answer, say, you know what, I'll get back to you on that, because I'd rather give you an answer that is correct than to just give you an answer to give you an answer. And I think I said about clarity, be clear, and ask yourself, is this message clear? Answer it back for yourself. And concise. And I use the rule, the 3 B's: be brief, be bright, be gone. So those are some of the qualities that I think are important for executive presence.
Kirby, Catherine, thank you. Olivia. I really like your point about speaking with confidence. That's really important. But your other point about not answering off the top of your head on an issue, a subject for which you don't know. I always tell my direct reports, I never want to be the smartest person in the room. If I am, I'm leaving that room. I am more impressed as a leader when someone says, you know what, I'm not sure, I read something about this in a journal, but I'm going to get back with you. And oh my gosh, if they give me a time frame for which they're going to get back with me, that's even better. A few things I normally tell my direct reports, and this is going to keep me honest because I actually have someone who works for me in the room, but I am a very strong personality. I think most leaders are, right? We're confident, right? However, it is more important for me to get it right than for me to be right. And so I encourage my direct reports to what I call talking me off the ledge, right? Because I have a lot of opinions, lots of them. My husband used to say, too many. But I want to always get it right. And so I try to empower my direct reports at all times to have researched whatever they want to present and be confident and convince me. And honestly, if you've done the work, I'm going to be easily convinced. Was that correct? Okay, good. The other thing that I tell my direct reports, that quality I think is important for professional presence, is under promise and over perform. And that is something actually I literally have carried with me from a supervisor I had fresh out of law school. I am going to ask for whatever task I am assigning to you yesterday. That's what I'm going to do. However, I need my employees, my folks who work with me, under me, to manage me. And I think that's something that we as women in particular, I don't want to say we're scared to do, but we're reluctant to do. If you manage your boss because they're given a ridiculous timeline or something, and you say, no, to do the best job possible, I'm going to actually need 2 weeks, but you know in the back of your mind, you could probably do it in 1 week, but then you come back with the finished product in 1 week, a week ahead of what you told your supervisor. Oh my God, you're a superstar automatically. And I think that we have to be better, get better at managing our bosses. My boss, I'm working with him now in the second organization. He came looking for me because, again, I was enjoying my temporary retirement for 2 years. I think largely in part because I managed the heck out of him, right? And that sounds like maybe overstepping, but it's not, because I manage him so that his job is easier. So under promise, over perform, and because I have expectations, right? You have to manage my expectations. It's important for you, this kind of goes to my last point, to manage me, right? So I'm going to have meetings all day long, but my schedule cannot be the reason why you don't get your assignment done. And my coworker is smiling and shaking her head. She's almost too good at managing me, but we'll talk about that later back at the office. You have to, that means you got to get in early. You'll never have to get in early because I disagree with you about being on time. If that is a real rule, then I'm in trouble every day, all week, all month, all year long. But if it means you got to get in early or stay late or make a lunch date with me, and I'm thinking we're going for Mexican food, which is my favorite, and you really just set me up to have a work meeting, whatever you got to do, that's what I'm giving you an idea. I'm sorry. That's what you got to do. But those are the cues I tend to give my colleagues whom I work with. And I think all of that lends itself to your professional presence.
Gina, you saw me jot down notes. Alethea and Catherine, you dropped some gems in there. I'm experimenting with executive presence, quite honestly. I think it's the most misunderstood term, in my humble opinion. It's like charisma, spotlight, flawless, all of that. But if you actually Google it, or if you look at the dictionary, executive or leaders, what is that? Every one of us in the room, executives, have the power to make plans and actions come to reality, right? That is executive. What is presence? I'm going to read it out because I want to get it right. It's in the Oxford Dictionary. A person or thing that exists or is present in a place but is not seen. Can I repeat that? Presence, a person or thing that exists or is present in a place but is not seen. Right? And as women, we want to struggle. What is this executive presence? So sorry to be a party spoiler, but take down those 3 magic words, in my humble opinion. What is executive presence? Be like salt. Be like salt. Its presence is not felt, but its absence makes all things tasteless. That is executive presence. In this world of, overbearing leaders, who just squish out the creativity in teams, you just oh my God, no, you want leadership to be accessible. You want the executive suit, the glass ceiling to be shattered. You want it to be hey, if I can do this, you can do this. My crown is never straight. But there are people fixing it. It's fine. That is executive presence according to me. And being an avid practitioner of yoga, what we yogis tend to do, so I'm still not there, But it's like, I think I'm a morning person or an evening person. I'm a coffee person. I'm a tea person. That's limiting it. You're limiting it. You're limiting your wonderful personality into a shell. Transform from a person to a presence. You will see the liberation. You will see your presence. It'll come effortless. You don't even need to try.
No, I was typing away. So we have a few things that I think all of you, first Alethea is going to give you so many little slogans that you're going to run in your mind to say, wow, that was great. I have to remember that. You're unbelievable. But all of you, dress for the position that you want. Be confident. Be confident in the topic that you're talking about. I'm perfectly fine when I don't know. First, when I don't know the topic because I am silent. I definitely hold my tongue. I'll ask a lot of questions, but I won't assert myself. But I think we should all take that moment to just inquire and try to listen and learn. But I think the other is better to get it right than better to get it right rather than be right. Love that. Under promise and over perform. I see some of my team and colleagues here, so I love that. Hint, hint. But and manage your manager, thing that I love. So thank you. And then present but not seen. So really great thoughts that will develop here. But thank you all. I think that just perspectives that we can all. Like I said, take away from today. And I think probably a good way to do that is to apply and put it in a situation, right? So how would you say you would respond or have you respond to a situation that you needed to improve your credibility or your brand within your organization or a previous organization? Catherine, we're making eye contact. Is there something that comes to mind?
But certainly when I was at the Department of Labor, I was in charge of a lot of people. And it became evident to me very early on in my tenure there that there were real gems. There were real creative, innovative thinkers, maybe in the central office in Trenton or out in the field at one of our one-stop career centers or other offices, who, for whatever reasons, were being looked over. And so I made it my business over time to bring some of them in-house into central office. And, I nurtured them and gave them opportunity, and they did exactly what I thought they would do. They shined. But in doing so, right, because none of us are perfect, every once in a while, there would be a scenario where there was a mishap, right? A staff may provide information that was not quite on point to me. I would then make a decision based on that information that maybe I could have or should have reviewed or followed up or confirmed. And it affected the entire workforce development system in the state of New Jersey. So I had a couple of those incidents. And each time that I did that, I would go to my boss at the time. It was a woman. She was an assistant commissioner, so she reported right up to the commissioner of the Department of Labor. And I would say, let me tell you the problem. I take full responsibility. Let me explain how I plan to correct this and my plan for the future to ensure this never happens again. Those were the 4 points I always would hit when I had to admit that I did something wrong. And ultimately, if I made a decision based on information from one of my colleagues who reported to me, I took the blame. The buck stopped with me. And not all leaders whom I worked with at the time did that, but that is my personal leadership style. And inevitably, whenever one of my colleagues, maybe who made the mistake, came to me and pointed out the mistake, or if I had to bring the mistake to them, as long as they accepted responsibility, guess what? I never remembered the incident. It would come in and out of my head. But when a colleague tried to excuse it away or blame someone else, I always seemed to remember that. And I think the same was true for my assistant commissioner at the time. And I think for all of my bosses with whom I employed this strategy of accepting responsibility, informing them of the problem, the impact, the plan to correct it. I said 4, there are 5 things. And my plan to ensure it never happened again in the future. As long as I came into my boss's office with that plan or with that schematic, seemed like they never remember it, right? Because I maintained my integrity, one, by taking responsibility, but also then by really thinking about how can we fix this, and more importantly, how can I ensure this doesn't happen again in the future? And I think if you do those things, it's not so much a problem as an issue you work through, and maybe even you develop a better process for doing whatever it is that got mucked up, right? So it's an opportunity versus a challenge. You turn a challenge into an opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's a great story. And honestly, that's, I think, really what makes us stronger and better is how we handle a situation, right? And how we come out of to the other side to be able to look back. You know, if you're managing it well and responding properly, it does tend to fade away pretty quickly, right? Kirti, I see you're nodding your head. You were taking notes, so you had a story you wanted to share.
Oh, yeah, Gina, as Catherine, you dropped such amazing points again, and I was just jotting something. What I heard is there are 2 kinds of people, right? People with reasons and people with results. And you can decide which camp you want to be. And Gina, your question was credibility and brand. How do you build that? We face this, many of us have faced it in this room, and I just chuckle away. I don't let that linger. When I'm in a room, whether it be a client or we're going through a major construction project now, so construction people come in and they always are like, who's the person who runs the office? Like, who's the managing partner? It's never me. And I'm like, it's actually me. So I think as women, I don't want to stereotype, but we women always face that, right? And again, it comes back to executive presence. Like, how do we say, like, yep, I am the boss. Don't let that bother you. Don't just let that bother you. Let's again focus on the results and not the reason. That's like, if you ask me, that would be one challenge that I continuously face. And I know it's not the end. I will face it throughout. But how do you navigate that and kind of focus on what you beautifully said? It's not a challenge, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, great. Alethea's writing. I see she's got a thought on her top of her tongue.
Well, because what I heard is it's about building trust and credibility. Because throughout the story, what you're doing is, to me, it's about, and we talked about this, it's about relationship before task, both in the dictionary and in life. So as you're building relationships in that story and in that scenario, you're building a relationship with the people who report to you and the people who you report to. And as long as you build that trust and that credibility, you can do anything. And folks that report to me, they understand that as long as they're honest, as long as they can trust me and I can trust them, we can do anything. So if they're upfront with me about what they did and why they did it, then I can cover. I can be honest with why I did something to my boss. I can build why it won't happen again and how I'm going to rectify the situation and move forward. And then they can trust the decisions that I've made, why I've made them, and how I'm going to rectify them. So everybody's going to make errors. You're not going to go through life being perfect every single time. None of us are. But it's the way you handle it. And my instance in that situation is when there was every single big job that I've gotten has never been something that I've applied to. Every breakthrough and large promotion that I've gotten, it's been someone tapping me on the shoulder and saying, Alethea, you did a great job doing this position. How about you try this one? And you know, in the jobs that I tried for, one time I tried for a really large job, and through politics, I didn't get that position. And I had to work for someone who was less qualified, and I did everything because every single one of our jobs is to make our bosses look good. At the end of the day, that's your job. It's to make your boss's job easier, better, to make them look good. And the more you do that, you are always showing your value, knowing your value, showing your value, and sharing your value, right? And as you do that, the person who was my boss, even though I did my best to make her look good, she was not successful in that role. And then when the time came and they decided to take her out of that role, the person who gave her the job came back and said, Alethea, there's going to be a reorg, and this is the new position, and you're getting this position. And let me explain to you that part of the reason that you're getting named is because of the way you handled it when you did not get the position. Number one, how many people will come back and say that to you and admit that they made a mistake, right? And then turn around and give you the position and give you the opportunity to flourish. That's about your character. That speaks to your honesty. Yeah. And that spoke a lot to one of the best bosses that I ever had. But you learn from every situation, and I am a firm believer that God doesn't close any doors without leaving a window open somewhere. And what is for you is only for you. So if the door doesn't open that day, it's because there was something lurking behind that door that was not for you. And it's okay. So don't worry about it, because there's another shining star out there, and you're there just waiting for it to happen. So, you know, things are going to happen to us. Things are going to happen to us as women. Things are going to happen to us as minorities. Things are going to happen to us every day. But you can get up with a fresh new attitude every single day and let that attitude determine your altitude every single day. And we can't forget that as women, because we can't control everything that's going to happen, but we can control how we handle it, right? That's right. So I just say that to my employees, and I say, like you do, I don't have to be the smartest one in the room, but I'm smart enough to put brighter people around me and not let that intimidate me any single day of the week, because they just keep lifting me up, and it's okay. I don't have to work as hard, and I still look good. And so many times we get shadowed out by, oh, I don't want them to have that, or I'm worried that they're going to come in and take my job. If you worry about that, you're going to be sitting right there at that same level every single time. If you really want to shine, lift as you climb. That's how you shine. That's how you win. That's how you get to be in behind the doors and at the table.
I just want a list of all of your sayings.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
That'll make it
I've taken a few down.
I'm here to tell you that's what happens. I wake up every morning and say, how can I make a positive difference every single day? And it has not failed me yet. Not one day.
Yeah. Well, look at what you've done for all of us, right? And just getting to know you through this process, and here you have had an impact. So thank you for that. And I mean, so many wonderful concepts here, and for sharing your story, Catherine. I really appreciate that. But I think, just the framework or the outline of how you handled that situation can be applied to any one of us in our workday. Accept responsibility, inform management, determine and share the impact, put a plan to remediate the situation, and a plan to ensure it doesn't happen again, right? Accept, inform, impact, remediate. Great tips. Two types of people in this world, right? People with reasons and people with results. I often have, I love that. And it immediately made me think of a situation yesterday where I said to a colleague, I don't want to hear the excuse. Now, I know where you're going. Let's just own it, take responsibility, listen to what I'm saying, it's constructive, and move on. Let's not go back. And I think that's really important to get people forward looking, right? Let's not dwell on the things we did wrong. I don't want to do that. I don't know if anyone wants to do that. Let's just take the constructive criticism and where it's coming from and move in a positive direction and forget about the past. Just don't repeat it. And then the other relationships before tasks, attitude determines altitude, right? Alethea, you need to write a book.
I know.
I'm telling you, there's just so many gems because it really, you can apply every one of them to a situation that you've had professionally, personally, anything. It's just so spot on. So thank you. I think, there's a few questions that we talked about, but I think what would really help everyone here is to know what energizes all of you. You're accomplished women. What keeps you inspired and wanting to achieve, right? I'm certain you haven't said, okay, let me throw my feet up, I'm done, right? So what continues to inspire you and as you continue on in your career?
One city.
Yeah, come on.
So before I address that, Jean, I was just thinking the importance of inspiration, right? Everyone asks, why do I need to inspire? So there was we always attribute it to the Harvard Business School. They did a study, and then Bain's and company, they published a report, and it says inspired people are so productive that if you put a satisfied employee in, say, 100% productivity, an engaged employee is 1.5 times more productive. An inspired employee is 2.25 times more productive. So if you have a team and you inspire them, it's 2.5 times the work that each person in your team is going to do, right? So it's important to inspire. But then to Gina's point, how do you stay inspired? So I'm looking at Sally Glick there. She's one of the most inspirational women that I know. And I'm going to use her as an example. I think what inspires every person is the moment you ask, what's in it for me? It's not inspiring. The moment you say, what's in it for you, the other person, how can I help you? That inspires and energizes you. I look at the Energizer Bunny and I love to go like that. I can go 18, 20 hours a day. There are teammates sitting here who know that I start my day at 3. What inspires me to do that is, again, talk to my team, talk to people who come across in my life and give them the belief. It's very often common to feel that way. You're a tiny drop in a mighty ocean, but to tell them that you're not a tiny drop in the mighty ocean, you're the mighty ocean in a tiny drop. I think that energizes me.
That was great. Thank you. I love that. What's in it for others rather than for yourself.
Yep.
Because when you start saying me, you do lose sight of the big picture, right?
Mm.
Yeah. Alethea, me?
I just think that we're blessed to be a blessing. So, I'm inspired by seeing people learn, grow. I'm inspired by my children. I'm inspired by life. I'm just blessed to be here. I have so many things to be thankful for that I can't even imagine not sharing it with others. I love life. I'm just thankful. So we got to work no matter what, right? We all need to make a living. And we spend more time with our associates than we spend with our families. So why not be happy and be a joyous work family? And even, I think about it, we were home for 2 years, not with our work families. And even now we're on a hybrid schedule. And so I go into my office, which is up in Oak Ridge in our building, 1 day a week. But I walked in yesterday because we had biometric testing. And so everybody came in. Oh my God, they were so happy. People were so happy. I don't know if it happens at your job, but people were so happy to see each other. It was like a reunion in there. And they were yelling my name, and I was like, oh my God, we were so happy to see each other. Who wouldn't be inspired by that? You would not be inspired by that. So I'm just thankful. And, for people who know my story, we were home in the pandemic and I had 2 brain aneurysms. I had a 5% chance of survival, and I'm here. So I am so thankful to be here. Fine. So I'm inspired by life. So
Yeah.
thankful.
Well, yeah, you've inspired all of us in this room, and I think you raise a really good point, though, right? That happened, and you were working remote, right? And here, how much we depend on our work family. I know they build me up and make me feel good and put a smile on my face, and how much we all miss that, and how much that energy helped bring us, bring us success as an organization, and to continue forward. So thank you for that, Catherine. I know I think you're a little choked up from hearing that.
Downer on this one.
Oh,
It is important and a gift when you find inspiration in your work. But, I did not always. And I'm going to say, as a younger professional, when I didn't, I also didn't perform as well because I didn't find that passion. I like rules, and that's why I went into accounting. I went to University of Michigan. I'm from Michigan. I like to tease with my friends from Rutgers. But, I like rules, and so I started off in accounting. That was not my thing, right? I like to say I have more personality than most accountants. Not you. You have a lot of personality. I thrive on people, whatever. And so I was not the best accountant. I was working at, public accounting firm, and I was mediocre. And honestly, it wasn't until I started, and I had a plan. I did not want to go back home and live with my stepmother and my father. And so I went to college. My siblings had me on tape asking me at my graduation party from high school, Catherine, what are you going to major in? I was like, whatever pays a lot of money. That was my attitude. I was not looking for the inspiration. I didn't know that I needed the inspiration. And I also thought I had planned everything out. And what do they say? If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plan, right? And once I started going with the flow from opportunity to opportunity, based on things that really ignited something in me, then my performance was incredible. It really moved me. And I have to say, I did not apply for a job at the Department of Labor. I said something in a meeting that moved the person who called me in for an interview. And honestly, I don't even know if I understood the term workforce development at the time, because what I was doing was very, law related. But I found my passion in helping individuals be gainfully employed in a manner in which they could support their families. Helping them now attain credentials and degrees so that they can increase their mobility and their earning potential. I have to say, I don't know, the last 10 years or so, I've found my inspiration. And I don't know about before. And I didn't have a lot of inspiration, and it showed. So it's utterly important.
Yeah, I mean, all of you are just really honest in what you're sharing. So I appreciate that, because that's how everyone learns from one another, is by this. You didn't arrive here, with everything together. There were struggles, right? There were moments where you lacked inspiration and that you weren't sure where you wanted to be and what you wanted to do. And that's common, especially speaking to young people that are pursuing their education. I know we're all involved in some way with with that process. And I often say, it's okay to go to college and not know what you want to do. It's okay to go through an internship and hate it.
That's right.
Elimination is also part of the process, right? So it's okay. And you're not going to insult me. I always say to my interns at the end of the summer, well, I hate banking. Like, okay, this is good. Check this off in a list. I'm good with that. So, but they think they're going to hurt my feelings. It's perfectly all right. But I think, and you hope to inspire others, but you really have to really kind of not necessarily go in search of it, but be open to it, right? And I think all of you shared, again, some more great information, right? Inspired employees are 2.5 times more productive. And that's outstanding. And what, just wonderful to know. Also focusing on others rather than what's in it for you. And really taking the moment. I think, Alethea, this should teach all of us that every once in a while we need to stop and appreciate who we are, where we are, and the people around us. I don't know that everyone takes a moment to do that. It sounds like, Alethea, you've had more than a few moments, and I'm so glad that you're here today to share that with us. But it really, and then the last tidbit, like that Catherine shared, that she recognized that she wasn't being her best self and the most productive person she could be when she wasn't inspired. So, I think all of those things are just great to learn from, and thank you for sharing. I think right now, I want to be conscious of time. I want to give all of you the opportunity to ask questions of these lovely panelists. Yeah, I see one. Yeah, please. You want to rise and so everyone can hear you? Yeah, I have no problem. Okay, perfect.
So thank you all so much for your time and all the wealth of knowledge and experience. I hear you talking about relationships, passion, inspiration, which are all obviously critical pieces here for all of us. Can you speak, Catherine, or any of you, about purpose and how it's actually sounds like we found your purpose in helping others? Because that's kind of, for me, my entire career. So it's taken a while to get to where I am in terms of that. I'm a sustainability professional. I'm a director of sustainability from an engineering firm. But I've worked in sustainability for over 20 years. And a lot of people are like, well, we're just starting to hear about that now. I'm like, exactly, right? So I found my purpose very early on, but not necessarily the success or the high achieving positions I had, where I always create my own way, seeing myself pretending they literally. So we speak to a little bit more about for this to kind of find.
I feel like I have advice for you, and I bet you did this, particularly because you said you created opportunities along the way because they just weren't handed out to you. Because I bet you worked for companies for which the higher-ups saw the need for sustainability, but it was not really accepted throughout the organization. Yeah, as soon as you said that, I was like, 20 years. Yeah, you were the first professional. There have been so many times when I've just put my head down and done the work. And my husband, who passed away, was a Baptist pastor. Of course, I grew up Catholic. There was no more Catholic family than my family, and then I find this Baptist pastor to marry, which was very upsetting to my parents. But there were times when I would come home, which is mistake number one, talking to my husband about work. My sister-in-law taught me that's why we have girlfriends. But anyway, but I would just say, I'm getting passed over, and I don't understand. I'm smarter than these, bozos. And he gave me the best advice that has carried me throughout my career, and that is, God is probably making you or preparing you for something better, or your next move, your next company, your next opportunity. And you need to just put your head down, continue working the best you can, and you will see the opportunity to create it or open it up for you, or it will be opened up for you, like you said. And it sounds like you're already doing some of that. But honestly, that you already know your purpose. You are so far ahead of so many of us, certainly of me. And as long as you keep chipping away, there are times when I have to tell my boss when he's anxious, he thinks that we should be, here and we're only here. And I have to say, I'm putting my head down and I'm doing the work, because I know that is how I get to here, which is I understand where we want to be. I'm going to put my head down and do the work. I'm not going to complain about it. And it sounds like that's what you've been doing. And I would say, I wish you could feel fulfilled in that. I know that's harder to do than, to have a promotion every other week or be acknowledged even, right, every other week. But it will come. And just be faithful to your purpose.
So well said, Catherine. And if I may, I think it was Simon Sinek who said that people don't buy what you are selling, people buy why you're selling. So as long as you have your why, the purpose, I think it was a beautiful question, and it wraps right back into our executive presence, right? It's not what we are trying to tell our teams, it's the why. When you exude, first you have to be clear on your why, and then when you exude that, the executive presence, the buy-in is just a natural byproduct.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't even always know that that is necessarily your purpose, because for me, it was, I'm just doing the work and doing what I think is right. And then for me, it was, I was doing work for learning and development. And it kept coming back, the D&I piece kept coming back and kept getting thrown in my face. And I was saying to myself, but I don't want to do diversity. That's not what I thought my purpose was. I never thought that's what my purpose was. But as I kept working in succession planning and learning and development, I've been doing branch banking and leading branch work for years, for 30 years, as a matter of fact. But my purpose became, it kept speaking to me and saying, but you really need to do this diversity work. There's a need. And it became my purpose to me by accident, but really it wasn't. There was a need, and I was there. And so that kind of fell in my lap to be my purpose, not even knowing. So sometimes it finds you.
And I think that that's a common theme of all of us, right? We were consistent in what we did day in and day out. And there's security and comfort and consistency. And when those opportunities and that purpose presents itself, every one of us had someone that said, we see you in this role, or we'd like you to fill this role. And I think that's a really important. So don't get discouraged.
Yeah.
Just think about all of the things that you've gained in the 20 years in that sustainability role. I'm certain that no one in your organization knows what you know. I have not a doubt in my mind. And that it has a level of importance, and that will be your purpose. I think it's just being patient, and which I know we're not the best at being patient, but I think your consistency is what's going to really come together for you. So yeah, thank you. Great questions. Yeah.
Thank you also for speaking. So I know really what I think is very uncommon.
You made a very, I think, uncommon decision in staying in your company after being bypassed for a promotion. So can you talk more about what made you stay instead of looking for a promotion outside the company? Good question.
At the time, it was probably more my team than it became more about them than it was about me. We were going through transition. At the time, we were going from Fleet Bank to Bank of America, and my team was doing extremely well, and I felt like I owed it to them to stay. If I had left at that time, a lot of other people would have left at that time. So sometimes you've got to make a decision that is not just right for you, but you've got to look at the big picture, and you've got to look broader than just what's happening today. You've got to look at the future. You just sometimes it's about more than just you. And at that time, I was leading a very large team, so it was about more than just me. And if I had left at that crucial time, the person that was coming in to be my boss was not even in that segment of the organization. So it would have been disastrous for more than just me.
Great question. I think we have time for one more question. Yep. Yeah, thanks, Dawn.
Like us, kind of that. Thank you, as anyone else has been thankful you. What
would a colleague of yours who you've worked very closely with, or a mentee, or somebody you've sponsored say about you if you were not in the room, about how you've perhaps influenced
You
that?
might be able to ask what your view. Yeah, the basic brought out.
I thought that was...
Is that hard to manage?
There you go. What they say about me in terms of how I manage them?
Right. What would their takeaway from your management style or influence be?
They tell me. Personable, honest, and fair, and giving. So,
Yeah, my staff wouldn't say that about me. I think they would say that I'm tough, that I challenge them, and maybe that I push them to be better. And I always am open for cocktails after work. And mine,
they wouldn't say that about me.
What are you saying?
Yeah.
okay.
Right.
We have the team here. Maybe you should shout out and I should step out of the room. Hopefully it's joyful. Hopefully it's inspiring. Hopefully it's sweet, but I'm assertive as well. Hoping those are the feedback.
Okay. Oh, thumbs up. Okay.
That was wonderful. Well, thank you all for the great questions and getting even more wonderful information out of the panelists. And thank you to each of you.
Gina, one final thing I think in this world, when we're going through this working from home, right? I would tell all the young executives here, don't miss out the chance to be in person. Executive presence it can never be replaced 100%. Like AI can never replace the human element. So please embrace that. Sometimes convenience trumps the commute time. It's all convenience, but please embrace the in-person. It's magical.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Great point.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
point.
you.